So let's say you finished a graphic design project like a letterhead or a business card, and you would love to showcase it somewhere more interesting than, just a flat picture. Well, that's exactly what blending modes are for. Welcome to Photoshop Icebreakers, where I'll break the ice between you and Photoshop blending modes so that your creativity can break free. Start by bringing into Photoshop the image that you want to use as a base. Then using the polygonal lasso tool, select all four corners of each of your business card surfaces and press Ctrl J to duplicate them into a new layer. Now you can bring into the project the designs that you've made. Use Ctrl T to position them and transform them according to the perspective of the card, and press Enter once you're finished. Then, you can hover with your mouse between the layer that you brought in and the one you duplicated before, hold Alt and click to create a clipping mask that will limit the design to the area below. And now the moment you all been waiting for, blending modes. What are they? In a nutshell, a blending mode defines how a layer that's sitting on top of another layer blends with the one below. Hence the name blending modes. You can think about it the same way as how in real life, certain things blend differently depending on how they're stacked on top of one another. For example, the different layers of a watercolor painting, filter in front of a camera lens that tints how it sees and take pictures, or even how you can project light into objects and change your color and how they look. Essentially, blending modes allow you to recreate all those effects through Photoshop. And with that, we're going to use our first blending mode by going to the layer section, selecting the normal and scrolling down to multiply. That'll make the elements that you brought in incorporate the shadows and lights from the elements below. If you feel it's getting a little too dark, you can always throw an adjustment layer with levels to tweak it, brighten it up. And if you're feeling good, you can just bring another image and do the same thing for the other side of the business card. But I think we can spice this up a bit more and learn about other blending modes in the process. For starters, let's select the sides of our business cards, and using the paint bucket tool, let's drop a color that's similar to the ones that we're using on the surface of our business cards. Then we can go to blending mode, select color this time around to tint everything underneath with the color we selected, giving it a more cohesive and intentional look. We can then create a new layer set to overlay this time around, and with the brush tool, with the big soft round brush, using the same color from before, paint reflections into the ground. And if things get messy and you paint over on top of something you shouldn't, don't worry, because we can always add a masking layer on top and clean up any of the undesired bits. To add even more realism, we can create a new layer set to multiply, this time to darken the colors even more, and use a thin brush on the base of the business card to simulate ambient occlusion. And now, one more final layer, in which we'll create a gradient using the gradient tool from the top left to the bottom right of the screen, using the same color as before, and we'll set it to screen to brighten the whole thing up. And because we're using the same color from before, it will just unify the whole thing. But wait! If we go back to the beginning and do one change, then this thing here becomes a lot more useful. Right-click on the image that we brought in and select Convert into Smart Object, and then just went along with our process. We can then double-click that image and bring a new design on top, save it, and bam! The new design fits just right in with the perspective and all the other edits that we made. But this here deserves a sidebar. What are smart objects? The Cliff Notes version is that they are a special type of Photoshop layer. They're smart because they remember how they've been brought in and everything that you did to them, as well as relationship to one another. But for this purpose, objects are particularly helpful because once I'm done bending and blending them, it's just a matter of bringing in a new design and the whole mockup has changed in the blink of an eye. Then we can quickly tweak the non-smart layers by selecting them using Ctrl U and changing their colors so that they fit with the new design, and in a matter of seconds, we're done. This isn't just for business cards, by the way. The same tools and blending modes be helpful for all sorts of mockup. You can just as easily add a design to a t-shirt using the exact same blending modes and tools we've seen today. Or, if you're an illustrator, you can bring your art into the picture of a very aesthetically pleasing sketchbook. And these examples are barely scratching the surface of all that you can do with blend modes. The question now is, what will you do with them? Let us know in the comments. And also tell us which tool or feature from Photoshop would you like us to break the ice and introduce you to.